quite unwell, so this may not be the best video ever. In fact, I'm sure it won't be. But I wanted to make it while it was fresh in my mind. There's been a lot of talk about death recently in various different ways, about assisted dying, that some people are calling suicide, and one's own death, raising awareness of the fact that we will all die and what that might entail and what those close to us might need to be aware of. And so I wanted to tell a story, a true story, in order to try and illustrate this. And if any of you have watched my past videos out here at Final Taboo, you'll know that my mother would have celebrated this expression and not been annoyed or upset about it. She died more than 4 years ago now, but it took her, well, I mean, I think she had the cancer gradually developing for a very long time. She'd started to change quite a while before it, but she was actively dying for about 7 months, deteriorating and so on. Now, she was not somebody who would have wanted an assisted death. She was somebody who liked to do everything in a very measured, very careful, step-by-step way, and letting go was something she really wasn't good at. And so she had to kind of process every tiny step of her deterioration, despite the fact that most of her mind had kind of drifted away, frayed, you know, so that she was like the essence of herself. She wasn't dementing, but there was very little left. So she was like a very young child who placed her life in the hands of those around her, especially me. But of course I knew her very well and I knew what she wanted. And so she became in many ways more and more beautiful as a person, because any kind of extraneous bits and pieces vanished. But there were 2 ways that she could die. She had liver cancer, and so she could die the way she actually died, which was very, very slowly, with her body just kind of disappearing. I mean, the hospice was completely amazed that she stayed alive for as long as she could. She was literally a living skeleton for some time. At the end, she had this extraordinary determination to stay alive. So that was one way she could have died. And the other way she could have died, which they told me to prepare myself for and was a distinct possibility, was that her bowel could perforate. Now, if that happened, she would have died in the most excruciating pain, and a pain that very little could be done to alleviate. I mean, you know, now with sort of assisted dying becoming more spoken about and becoming and hopefully becoming possible for all of us, it's an option that she may well have taken, but she would have had to have taken that option very fast, and she would have been in hell, you know, bang, straight away. But when I was told this, that these were the kind of 2 possibilities, I made a deal with death. That sounds ridiculous, but anyone who's been had death surrounding them quite a bit will be aware that it can feel like an entity, a personality. It seemed to be like a bit like a jester, of sort of dark jester, in the sense that it really played with you. You know, that you thought it was going to do one thing and something else happened, and you were pulled in and spat out. It was a very cruel master in some respects. So some might say, well, why didn't you talk to God if you believe in God, or why did you do any of those things? You know, what purpose did it serve? And I may have been aware at the time that I wasn't making a deal with anyone, but a wish for the sort of death that she wanted, which was the slow, piece by piece, gradual decline into coma and death, which is what happened. Because I knew that she would have coped so badly with that sudden, immediate bang, hell on earth. And I said, I would do what it would take to look after her, to make sure that she got what she needed. And please, don't give her that horrendous death. And also, to be honest, wasn't entirely altruistic. I didn't want to see her go through that. And it was extremely costly for me to have for that longer route to be what happened, because I don't mean it was financially costly for me, but I mean emotionally and practically costly for me. My business went to the wall because I couldn't work. I was running up and down the country all the time. I was there with her as much as I possibly could be. My life was literally on hold for the duration of the time that she was dying. But far rather that she should get the death that she wanted, than that she should have that taken away from her, that option, that good death, what she would have considered to be a good death. My father had a good death, but he died bang of heart failure, swearing under the bonnet of a car, which is what he would have wanted as well. And I think what's important here, and what I'm hoping to illustrate, albeit in a slightly snotty way, is that every one of us has a way of dying that would suit us best. It's not something perhaps any of us especially relish, the process of dying, even if some people would like to be dead. That's a different thing. But we all have it to deal with at some point. And all you can ever wish for anybody is the death of their choice. And in that as a family member or a friend or just, whatever, somebody who's close to that dying person, it seems to me, God, I'm dizzy, that it should be our responsibility to help them and to advocate for them so that they can have the death that they want. It's partly inspired to me, I can't even remember who it was, but somebody was talking about, on YouTube, about people not sort of fighting and wanting to make somebody better, to find a cure for the whatever terminal illness the person had, rather than take care of the dying person's needs. And I've seen people who have been dying, having a horrendous death, not because the mode of their death was particularly bad, but because their family and friends were so distraught that they were torturing the dying person, telling them not to leave, that don't go, and trying to do everything they can to stop the person from dying, when what they actually needed was for them to give them permission to die and to help them in whatever way ease that process, and to love them in whatever way they need. And I know how costly that is, having done it. I know how raw the pain of loving someone enough to help them have the death that they want. And I don't mean by killing them, fighting for their assisted death may be part of that, but what they want, it can be incredibly costly to the people who are helping them in that, or supporting them in that, or helping them to fight for that because they can't fight for it themselves. But that's the last thing you can give somebody, the one last thing. And that seems to me to be an important and precious and valuable thing to do. And I don't know how I'm going to die, but I do know that I would want that from those that were close to me more than anything